Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to my channel. I'm back. I had to take a bit of a break, had a few things going on in the background. One of these things that I thought was going to be really big and costing me thousands of dollars, well, apparently there are a lot of incompetent people that you can have work for you to do some really stupid things. But if you call the right people and they know what the hell it is that they're doing, you can find out that it's a small problem after all. And don't take just the first person's advice. Get a second opinion. It's not going to hurt as much as you think. Sometimes. And then the legal thing. I think that's all taken care of. I didn't know it was going to be a legal thing at the time whenever I got into all of this. I thought everything was okay. But things spiraled downhill. They just flat out admitted that they kind of used it as a weapon against me to make me feel bad, and they just didn't care. So, but I don't play games. I'm not anyone's nothing. They can screw off. So I actually took care of it, and it looks like it's really good because with a little bit of subterfuge, because we have these wonderful thing called cell phones that have cameras, and you can take pictures and do video recordings. I think I'm good. I think I'm real good. And well, they say things come in threes. Because I kind of had a third thing, but it wasn't actually that bad. But a third big thing did pop up, and it's taken a lot of time, and it's cost several $100s. I guess it wasn't. It's bad enough. It was unexpected. But I got that taken care of too. So now, with the legal thing, I'm still going to wait a little while. But it should be done. I can't imagine how it could be anything else. Because, yeah. But still, I'm just, while it's all fresh, I'm still going to kind of wait. Just to make sure. And then, with that first big thing, it's completely resolved. It's done. And, no, wait a minute. I got it backwards. With the third big thing that just happened, that's completely resolved. With the first big thing, I have a little bit more to do. But that won't happen until next month. Yeah, it won't. I won't resolve that until next month. And that'll take it'll take a fair chunk of time and a little bit of money to get it all completely wrapped up. But that's the way that it's going to work. But for right now, everything's good. I don't think I have anything pressing going on right now at all. It's kind of weird though, because I was really stressing out. I mean, things were looking kind of bad. I mean, the legal thing, if it had just gone completely sour, I don't know, man, because it was bad. It's like to the point of being homeless bad almost, or pretty damn close to it. That's how bad it was. I've been stressed, and now it's kind of weird feeling that weight off my shoulders. So I have not been keeping up with the news at all while this has been going on, because it was one of those things. Fortunately, I don't think I've had any kind of major legal issues before. I've had legal issues, but nothing on this scale. Nothing close. So anyways, going to talk about a video that I saw with Tim Pool just now, talking about a fuel shortage. I don't know much about it, other than I guess some cyber hackers hacked something and caused disruptions with all of this, and now there's fuel shortages, and Tim is an idiot, and he's talking about prepping and all these things, and Tim is such a paranoid freak, man. He talks about like civil unrest that's happening all the time, and it's like, no, it's not. I mean, riotings have been going on all around the world for as long as I can remember. Same thing with bombings and hijackings and everything. Just because you're young and stupid and naive doesn't mean that the world's all falling apart. It just means that you've grown up. People want to think about, oh, well, I want to go back to the good old days. Things were so much easier. It's like, no, they weren't. You were just naive. You were ignorant. You were a child. That's why you didn't know. What, you think people weren't freaking out about things back then too? It's like, grow up. Who do you think you are? So it's like they've had bombings in the 70s and the 60s and rioting and protests and all that stuff. I mean, Berkeley has been the breeding ground for this nonsense for well before I was born. That place is just nut job city. You know what? If that's what they want to do, then go ahead and let them. Anyways, before we get into it anymore, help me out. Do a thumbs up, subscribe, become a member so that I can make a living off of this, so I can dedicate more time to this, because I'm going to create a website that's going to deal with lying. I have got it figured out. It won't be 100%. It won't do anything for personal stuff at all, but man, I tell you what, with stuff like what news reporters and political ideas and big businesses and what they're all doing, oh, it's going to get stomped into oblivion, because this website is going to be about the freedom to express yourself. But there will be some accountability towards it all. So, and it's not going to be just the privileged class. I'm tired of it. I'm fed up with it. I've been lied to my entire life, and I don't want any more of it. And it's actually because my life has been such trash, and that I did not give up, and I've continued to fight about this, that it's led me to here. And I would say a big part of because everything has been kind of psychologically trash with me, it's kind of where the answer came from. And it applies to all these circumstances. So I have Patreon, I have Subscribestar, and now I can get to working on all this and get this real good. And so the name of this video that he's created is called Gas Line Panic on East Coast Due to Shortages Following Cyber Attack. Biden Administration Denies Shortages. He's talking about how with social media and kind of everywhere online that you can find all these pictures and people's reporting of shortages and people who are filling up on gas with several containers of fuel. And I don't care. I don't care at all. So this stuff happened, and yeah, there's going to be some problems. The biggest problem is just people being stupid and panicking, and the same thing with that little food scare that they had just a few months ago with, or maybe it's been a year now, with COVID. People went to the stores and they took everything, or not everything, but large chunks of it. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. Because it's the same thing with all this stuff. Oh, the end of the Mayan calendar, 2012, this is the end of the calendar, it's the end of the world, and nothing happened. Oh, it's Y2K, the computers don't know how to change over to the year 2000, all the computer systems are going to drop down, we're going to lose everything, we're going to go back to the Stone Age, and nothing happened. What's that idiot's name? That one, what was he, Clinton's vice president? Al Gore. Oh, the polar caps are melting. They're going to be gone in 12 years. The polar bear population is dwindling. The coastlines are going to flood. It's been like a couple of decades now, and nothing's happened. It's fear-mongering. It's just excuses to do more with the government, more regulations. Oh, 9/11, you know, the terrorists have attacked the towers. We need that, what was that stupid Patriot Act, and we need to monitor cell phones and all this stuff because we're in such threat and peril, and nothing happened. It was just a tool for the government to increase taxes and government spending and all this stuff, and that's what Biden's doing with COVID now. Oh, COVID is here and we're all going to die and it's just looking horrible, and nothing's happened. If COVID was so bad, then all these people who are living on the street should be dead. Why are the homeless just not affected by this at all? It's like I'm in better health and shape than all those fools. I don't have drug abuse problems. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't smoke. It's just none of this stuff. So I'm not worried about any of it. You know who has problems with this? People who are really old and who are out of shape. From my understanding, that's it. I don't ever plan to be that way. And you know what? You have to be just as dumb as a box of rocks if you think that you can just lounge around and do nothing and just eat whatever you want to, and that there's not going to be any consequences for that. It's like, yeah, no, that's not the way that it works. You don't take care of yourself, guess what? You're going to have consequences. So, And Tim, he's talking about, oh yeah, we have all these disruptions going on all over the place, and he'll reference Seattle all the time. I don't care about Seattle. I don't give two flips what's going on there. They can take it all and they can just burn it to the ground if they want to. I don't care. The only thing I do care about is whenever they start saying anything with taxes, because my money goes to taxes, and I know what to do about this. I'm so tired of it. The politics system that we have is outdated. So much of this needs to be electronic, where it used to be back in the day, yes, you had to have somebody represent your area and go to the state capital or the national capital to be able to represent you and your interests, which really wasn't very much. You know why? Because no representation was needed. Because it was just like, well, people are getting along, they're doing okay, they have to do for themselves. The government is not a business. Never has been, never should be. I mean, you could manipulate it into being such a thing, but basically government needs to just kind of get out of the way of the majority of things out there. There are a few things whenever you're dealing with things between two states and other nations. It's like, yes, that's a little different. But with a lot of this other stuff, if it could be handled on the local level, it needs to be handled at the smallest level possible. And if it just absolutely can't be handled at the smallest level possible, then you go up to the next one, so like your county, then state, and then federal. So even with things like pollution, if you have a big factory that's pumping out pollution, there's no reason whatsoever why that community should not have the power to be able to regulate the things that are going on with that factory. And regulating, with carbon emissions or whatever. Do you think that they want to have that stuff? You know why it doesn't get addressed? Because the government has intervened and it keeps the people from being able to do it. If they said that, you know what? This factory is in this county or next to this city, they're the ones who should deal with it. You think that they wouldn't? Who wants that? We have this. It's not a coal plant. I guess it's a carbon plant. And it's got black carbon just littering the ground all over the place for about half a mile diameter, or radius, a mile in diameter. It's not a very big city that it's next to. It's a little town. But you know what? If you left it up to them where they could do something about it, they absolutely would. Because who would be happy about that? Absolutely no one. But they get to do it because it's the state or the federal government that's administrating this stuff and saying that it's okay. It's the same thing with the FDA, with the Food and Drug Administration. We don't need them for anything. Food and Drug Administration. Okay, so we'll start with food first. Today, with technology, my phone's charging up, but with our cell phones, we can comment on things, and we can instantly transmit messages to people to let them know, oh, you know what, this plant here is trash. This pig farm or chicken coop or whatever, because what they have today is they're like these big, large barns, and the animals are just cooped up in there, and it's real disgusting. If you're providing a service to the public such as that, then they should be also open to the public for inspection. And so if people want to go and take a look around, I mean, during hours, I mean, not like at 2 o'clock in the morning, but in some, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that if people want to come and take a look to see what's going on with their food supply, that they should be able to do that, or at least be able to have some kind of representative groups to go do that. Well, what do you need an administration to do that for? Who's not going to do that? Or just, there's an app called Whelp, and you can go around, you can eat at restaurants, and then you can give it I think it's up to a 5-star rating on that. And so if you have your choice between two places, and one place has a 1-star and one has a 5-star, and they're both serving the same kind of food, and they're relatively close together, so you have your choice, who's going to choose the 1-star? Same thing with all this other stuff. You know, there's only monopolies because the government has put in so many obstacles, making it difficult for competition to come in. That's whenever things start going to crap, because they get to stop trying. They get to lower their standards. They get to do whatever, because it's not being kept up to date with what it is that we can do. And I know the answer to all this stuff. I know exactly what needs to be done. We do not need a Food and Drug Administration. If you go and you eat food and you get sick, I mean, I don't need the Food and Drug Administration to tell me that I'm sick, or somebody else. And if that happens with some place that's providing food, it's like, I don't want the government to come in and bail them out. I don't want the government to do anything. I don't want the government to even come in and say, clean this up. I want them to fail and burn. I want them to burn to ash to the ground and strew them, and let somebody else come up and take their place. Somebody who's going to do it right. That there needs to be no bailout for big businesses. So, yeah, the answer to this stuff is not the government. The answer to this stuff, it's us. It's me. It's you. It's everyone else who's listening. It's to the people who aren't listening. We can manage ourselves. We've been doing this whenever times were much harder. We're living in the best time throughout the human lifespan than ever before. We're living better than kings and queens ever had. Here's a story. Rockefeller was extremely rich whenever he was alive. One of the wealthiest men on the planet. But that didn't save his son whenever he got sick, because he couldn't buy antibodies for his son, because they didn't have them available. And it's the same thing. You keep going further and further back, they had less and less and less and less. So at some point in time, they didn't have like sewing machines, and so everything was done by hand. So kings and queens had these elaborate garments, of course, but they were all stitched by hand. This that I'm wearing right now, it is easily more elaborate than anything than a king or queen had. I don't know if you can tell, but it's got lines all the way down. And all this is very fine, double stitched work all the way around it, because it's standard today, because we have electricity that allows us to power sewing machines. And a sewing machine can do stuff like that. It's because of all these things. We have engines and freezing for foods, so that we can now ship foods from around the world in refrigeration units and have it at our fingertips. There were no kings and queens who had that, but we do. We have a lot of things. The computers give us so much that we can't even fathom all the things that are capable with them, because we're not even doing it. We're not even close to putting them at their maximum potential. So Tim's just fear-mongering here about gas shortages and riots and all this stuff, and it's nonsense. The gas shortages are a nuisance, and you should be prepared for these things, because as stuff happens, you got to have a little bit saved away for a rainy day. You need to have some savings. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of food for a few days. There's always some kind of tragedy that could happen. I don't think that you need like a year's supply or 6 months supply. It's like, get the hell out of here with that crap. I remember that that Mayan calendar stuff was ending, and all these preppers were getting a lot of attention. You know, the Mayan calendar didn't go past this. It's like, yes, it had to stop somewhere. You stupid moron! It just couldn't go on. You know, beyond infinity and just always. It's like, of course it's gonna stop. You idiots. And they were getting into hydroponics and how to be self-sufficient, and they would do this system stuff where you had fish that would eat the algae, and the algae would keep the water clean. It was something like the water grew the algae, the fish ate the algae, you could eat the fish, and the fish and the algae kept the water clean for the plants, and it was just this big recycling thing. It's kind of cool in a way. I think it was... I forgot the name of the fish. It starts with a T, I think. But they like mass produce like mad, and so you better love fish because you're going to be eating a lot of it. And I think the only vegetables that it really does good with growing on a hydroponic system is like leafy greens, like lettuce does extremely well with it. It's limited. They're trying to work on it with some of this, with the other stuff. And people are dumb to it. They don't understand what a light recipe is. They see these lights on Amazon for growing inside multicolored stuff, and it's like, well, the red light's not doing any better than the blue light, and the white light seems to work best. It's because it's a recipe, you moron. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take this multicolored light that they have, because it's a bunch of little bulbs in it, and you're trying to manipulate the growth cycle of the plants based off of the sun rising and sun setting, because that's whenever you have all the hues going on in the skyline, and that tells the plant, hey, I need to grow my leaves, or I need to grow my roots because it's daytime or nighttime or whatever. So you're supposed to mimic that, so then that way you can get more production of whatever it is that you're trying to do. So if you really want a stronger root system, then you keep it asleep longer so that the roots will develop more, and then whenever you're ready for stronger stems and leaves, then you simulate it at the times that you want, so it'll start with the leaves and the stems for the simulated sunlight. And it's like, oh, the red light. It's like, you're an idiot. They're not idiots. They're just ignorant. They don't know any better, and it's because they have poor information. So I tell you what, every time I see any of these problems, it's like, I know exactly what to do. And for all of you people who are watching me right here, right now, you are watching the beginning of something that's great. Because there's just no way for me to be stopped. No way. And I actually challenge myself on this a lot, because I've had other things before. Well, one of my kind of semi-good ideas was, I was thinking about, what could I do for a restaurant business? Well, people like drive-ups and they like fast food because of the convenience. It's like, okay, well, what kind of genres of food do not have that kind of thing going? And it's like, well, Italian doesn't have that. And about 2 or 3 months later, Frizzoli's opened up. I don't know if you have that where you're at or not, but Frizzoli's is an Italian restaurant where they have a drive-up window. And the way that they get away with it is that it's already been cooked, and it's in an aluminum foil container, gets frozen and packaged and then delivered to the restaurant. And then whenever it comes time, you don't have to wait for it to be cooked. It's already cooked. You just have to warm it up, and then you serve it. It's pretty clever. I guess if you wanted to do something like that today, you would need to have some kind of a gimmick. So we have another restaurant called Rose's. It's a Mexican food place. Their gimmick is that they have a tortilla making machine right there on site, so you make fresh tortillas every day. So if you wanted to do that with Italian food, probably like fresh made pasta. So instead of making tortillas, maybe you could make like noodles or some kind of, I guess you would want like traditional spaghetti noodles, and then, or if you could only pick one of the two, some kind of specialty cool noodles or whatever. So if you like to cook and you were interested, there you go. Anyways, give me a like, thumbs up, subscribe, become a member, Patreon and subscribe star. Let's get this thing going. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be seeing you tomorrow.